From the people that brought you Unwrapping 1, 2, and 3 comes the most epic unwrapping of them all. Unwrapping 4, The Rappening. Just when you thought it was safe to buy DVDs and Blu-rays, they sit on your shelf waiting, day after day, year after year, watching as you watch Halloween for the 100th time. Then the day comes when the Wrapped becomes the Unwrapped. Unwrapping Part 4 on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 Yay.
Hey everybody, it's time for another episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. I am your host, Insane Mike, and this is episode 230th, Unwrapping Part 4. What is an unwrapping episode, you may ask? It's more than just an episode where we couldn't think of a topic. It's a very special episode where each of us pick a movie out of our collection that we have never opened, and we watch it for this episode. Here at Attack of the Killer Podcast, we specialize in horror movies. Well, not that we're horror movie experts. We're just really good at watching stuff.
I'm not even good at that.
We are a horror movie podcast where a group of friends, we get together, we pick a topic, we discuss movies within that topic. We hang out, we talk horror, we have a good time. It may get a little crazy up in here, so be warned. There may be spoilers. If you want more Attack of the Killer podcast in your life, you can become an attacker. An attacker is an official supporter of Attack of the Killer podcast. Being an attacker gets you all kinds of extra perks. You can get your very own official membership card and certificate, shout-outs on the show, bonus episodes, various video series such as Insane Mike's 1 Minute Top 10 list, killer critiques, and video updates. You can also get other great stuff such as original art by me with Mikey's Monsters, where I draw you as a monster of my choice. Or you can even get your very own Attack of the Killer podcast t-shirt. How can you become an attacker, you may ask? It's so simple. Just go to jointheattackers.com. Choose the perk you want to help support the show. It's so easy, even a children of the corn can do it. Again, that's jointheattackers.com. Do it and become an attacker today. And now, it's that moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to introduce you to the podcast crew. He is currently reading a horror novel in Braille. He knows something bad's about to happen in the next chapter because he can feel it. Tad, everybody.
Hello.
He's currently writing a new horror story about a pen that comes to life. He says it's practically writing itself. Andrew.
Hi.
He says he loves horror movies with clowns, and I'm certain which one, but I think he means it. He means it. Jason!
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for having me on today, Mike. Oh, wait, I'm here every time.
You're here every time.
I know. I just want to give since I'm on the microphone, I thought I just want to let everyone know, let all our listeners know that we got some really cool stuff on our website, some new things for you to purchase on the shop page. Like, we got this new killer commentary.
What?
It's available. It's, where we do a video on basic, I don't know, how do you want to explain it? It's like Riff Tracks, MST3K.
It's like, if you ever seen like a Riff Tracks live where not only are you see the movie and you hear their commentary, but there's pictures of them sitting there watching it with you as well. And that's what we do.
Yep. And the first one we put out was The Brain That Wouldn't Die. Oh, I freaking love that movie. And the one we just released this week is Horror Express. We finally got to do some Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee stuff. It was really good. So that's available on a digital download, and you can also buy a DVD of it. It's pretty cool. We also got this really cool thing. We're doing killer collections. If you want to, it's your chance to get our back catalog. You can get episodes 1 through 100 in a batch. You can get 101 through 200, or you can get all our commentary episodes all in one sweet little download. And lastly, we got this really cool collectible. It's a trading card. That's right. We have our own trading card. And it wasn't even our idea. That's why it exists. Because if I would have been, guys, we should make a trading card, they'd be like, "You're dumb. What are you doing? This is a horror movie podcast." But the famous Walter Day of the Video Game Hall of Fame in Fairfield, Iowa, he runs a museum, a Hall of Fame, really, and he because he lives nearby, he's always celebrating businesses and things, cool people doing stuff, making stuff for the community. And he wrote us and asked if he could do a trading card of our silly mugs and what we do over here at Attack of the Killer Podcast. And he made up this super sweet trading card, and it's a real trading card. It's like got your ugly mugs on one side and like all about us and our stats on the back. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but something like that.
You can use this card when you play Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
You can use this card and put it in your spokes of your bike.
True.
It makes a great coaster. Anyway,
so I just wanted to tell everyone there's a lot of new cool things over on the shop at AOTKP. Get your butts over there and check some of that out. Help support the show. Thank you.
Attack of the Killer Podcast is sponsored in part by Shudder. Shudder is an online streaming service for all of us horror freaks. A lot of the movies we watch for the show, we watch on Shudder, so you need to get Shudder. We all love Shudder here at the show, and we know you will too. Sign up for Shudder today, and it has like a huge selection of movies, different series, a lot of original programming. Trust me when I say if you love horror, you should be watching Shudder. You can get the first month of Shudder for free as a gift from us here at Attack of the Killer Podcast. Just go there and enter our promo code AOTKP, and you can get a full month of Shudder for free. Again, that promo code is AOTKP. Now, have you been wondering what kind of stuff we've been watching lately? Well, we're going to tell you anyway. Here's Tad with what we watched.
well, it's Oscar season, and I'm sure none of us are watching any Oscar movies. So, Andy, what have you watched?
Well, I didn't get a whole lot watched. Mainly, it was just these movies, and I watched a little bit of WandaVision with the wife, which I'm
too.
Thoroughly enjoying. We got new character introduced into the MCU. Actually, two technically. That was very cool. I did watch on February 27th because in 1987 on February 27th, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 came out, and I was feeling nostalgic, so I popped that in and watched it again, and it's still one of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Streets, and it should be yours because it is one of the better Nightmare on Elm Streets. But the newest movie that I watched was a film called Bloody Hell. Have you guys heard of this?
Nope.
Well, it's about a guy who stops a bank robbery, but during his stopping it, an innocent woman accidentally gets killed, and he goes through the court system, and he has to do like 6 or 7 years in prison. So, but during this whole time, he has like his conscience talking to him. So, and his conscience is hilarious. It's like Drop Dead Fred, but only his conscience looks exactly like him. And so he gets out of prison, and he wants a fresh start. And it shows him he's blowing spitballs at a map in prison, and every time he shoots the spitball, just like randomly, it lands on Finland. So he goes to Finland, but he ends up before he even gets there, he ends up getting drugged and kidnapped by this crazy family in Helsinki. and he ends up in a basement with part of his leg missing. And apparently there's a reason why they just cut bits and pieces off these tourists, and he has, through the help of his conscience, telling him to calm down when he wakes up with his leg missing, he has to get out of this house full of these crazy people. And it's hilarious, and I highly, highly recommend it. If you guys get a chance, watch Bloody Hell.
Where's it available to watch?
I got it off of Amazon. I rented it, and it's fairly cheap. It's not like, one of the $20 ones. I mean, you're looking at maybe $5.99, $6.99, something like that.
So it's new?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, it's unexpected from Andy.
And it's
right?
and it's shut up. It's a hell of a good time. I mean, I think you guys, would really enjoy it.
Is that the tagline for the movie? Hell of a good time. Bloody hell.
Should be.
I don't know, maybe. I just know it's called Bloody Hell.
I just assumed you found like a laser disc in a shoebox at a yard sale or something. You're like,
yes. Sometimes you can discover some of the best stuff that way. Yeah.
So did you have anything else you watched?
That's like literally it. That's just a small amount, but I did want to make sure that you guys knew about that film. I think you guys would really like it.
It sounds pretty awesome. I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, Jason, did you watch more than Andy?
Barely, and I'm just going to count a couple comedies. That's all I have. I watched. Here's the thing. I'm not a quote guy, and I hate that about myself.
Your quote is, "Here's the thing."
Well, but I mean, I can't. When people talk in movie quotes, everyone's always saying a movie quote, and they're like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "I don't know what you're fucking talking about." And everybody does that, and I'm no good at it because my retention is terrible. But then I realized if there was one movie that I've realized what the most quotable movie maybe of all time is, but definitely in my catalog. But this last week we watched Dumb and Dumber. Oh
Yeah.
my God, you don't even know how many freaking quotable lines there are in that. It's insane. Movie's so funny.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it still holds up.
Still,
I revisited it maybe a couple of years ago, and I laughed my ass off.
oh man,
It's so sad that they had to do a sequel.
yeah.
I thought the sequel was really funny too. I'm sorry. I really liked it.
I don't know if I saw it.
Are you talking about Dumb and Dumberer, or like
Dumb and Dumber 2?
Too, yeah. With
Okay.
the actual guys.
with
Oh,
the
yeah.
actual? Okay.
That's right. I don't think I saw that either.
Took Simon when he was probably way too young in the movie theater to watch that movie. And he loved it, and I loved it. It's
Good.
so hysterical.
I also watched from 2013. I had never seen this. It's Jason Bateman, Melissa McCarthy in Identity Thief.
Oh, nice. I've been wanting to see that one.
Here's the thing. It's tough. It was great. Comedy, it was amazing. Both those guys are just killing it. Jon Favreau's in it. Amanda Peet. Robert Patrick plays a badass guy in it, and he's so great.
Have you seen this boy?
Yeah. And but it falls into a little bit of that. This guy can't catch a freaking break.
Oh, no. I know you hate that.
And that part gets to me. But
I think
the comedy keeps it going enough.
I feel like that bugs you more
It does.
outside of genre than it does
Also true.
especially in comedies. I think it bugs you more because there's been several horror movies where I'm like, oh, I think Jason's going to hate this because it falls into the guy can't catch a break, and then you turn around and love it.
In these comedies, I think it's like Jason Bateman is a really good guy, a great, awesome family guy, and I just you relate to him instantly, and it's just so hard to watch him go through what he has to go through, even though a lot of funny hijinks ensue. But those guys are great, and I really liked it. But the thing that's Tina and I watched it yesterday, and just fucking loved it. It's from 2019. It's a 4-part documentary series called Lorena, and it's about Lorena Bobbitt.
Oh,
And It's fucking
Oh,
incredible. It's
I've heard good things about that doc. Yeah.
I'm after the bonus episode, I'm afraid to say that it's produced by Jordan Peele. But for some of us, that might not help you go watch it. But dudes, you're all, well, I know these guys are 10 years younger than us, so maybe it'll be different for them as it was for us. But that was like 93, like happened to us too. I mean, OJ happened right around there. It was a very big time for TV craziness.
Between OJ and the Tanya Harding thing and Lorena Bobbitt, it was like just like
all right there.
One thing after another, right?
Yeah, it was like trashy people taking up the news. I think that's really when that kind of news media broke out, was during that time, and
coincidentally,
now that's all we get.
And coincidentally, Jerry Springer started taking off at about that time. All the grimy, just trashy kind of content, right?
Yeah, but this doc is freaking great because it's very pro Lorena. She really did a fairly good job of staying away from the media all these years. And how she was very quiet during a lot of it, and so there's a lot of footage and behind the scenes stuff, but a lot of new commentary. I know you're just trying to think of a joke. I can see your face.
I just want to, yeah, never mind.
But it also, it's very pro her, and John Wayne Bobbitt's in this documentary, new, he sat down to be in it, but the doc does nothing but spend 4 hours making him look like a dickhead.
That's what I've heard about
and
the doc.
It's so great.
He doesn't have one, so.
Oh, right.
No,
he does.
He does. It got sewn back on. That's where I was smiling ear to ear, wanting to say something, because I wanted to bring up the porn that he did directly after getting it sewn back on.
Yep, they talk about it, penis. And it was just
put hydraulics in.
Yeah. Well, he did have a second surgery and did a second porn called Frankenpenis, where it was botched.
Mm-hmm.
Like the surgery.
Yeah, his dick did not look good.
They tried to enhance it, and it totally went wrong, and they didn't show those pictures.
It looked like something out of like a David Cronenberg movie.
But, I think he's just got addicted to knifing his dick up or something. Man. Why would you willingly go and just say, "Yeah, I want to have that happen again"?
I know. No, they talk about it, and they're just they just continually point out how not bright this guy is. And he's sitting right there.
I don't think you need to point it out.
And he's trying to defend himself, and it's just he looks worse with everything he says, and it's kind of you see her get justice, just how fucking dumb this guy is.
Does he come off kind of cocky?
Oh, he's the worst piece of shit. Okay, I see what you did there. I'm going to move on then, I guess. We won't talk about what I watched. It was great. And I don't watch I definitely don't watch true crime things a lot. And documentaries don't always come first, but when I see one, I'm like, gosh dang, why don't I watch more documentaries? This was fantastic.
I love them.
Yeah.
So I recommend it. It's on Prime. It's free. Lorena.
Cool.
Yeah. That's what I watched.
All right, Mike, what have you watched?
Oh man, it just popped in my head. There was one I forgot to bring up last time, but I can't remember with Jason talking about this doc. Last time I watched that doc on Netflix about the hotel and the
Cecil Hotel.
Yeah. What's the name of that doc? Anybody remember that doc series?
Nikki watched it, but I didn't. It's something at the Cecil Hotel. I don't know.
It's a great doc. Yes, it's kind of a true crimey doc, Jason, but I still think you should watch it. It's directed by the guy who did the Paradise Lost movies. His name is escaping me at the moment, but you can really tell, because I feel like he's taking the same angle with this story that he did with the Paradise Lost movies. Because it's, oh man, I shouldn't go into it. But there's just like the way the doc continues to go, and you're thinking, oh, what really did happen to this woman? And who is the killer, or was it supernatural, or and they even interview this guy who the internet attacked hardcore because he is this black metal singer who sings about death and killing and whatnot, and apparently had this music video where this woman's being chased in the woods and getting killed in the woods, and this video came out shortly after the disappearance of this girl, and how this guy supposedly was at the hotel at the same time as the woman and all this stuff, and really damaged this guy's life. And he had literally no connection in real life to what actually happened. And that totally
Is
totally fits into the theme of like what he did with the Paradise Lost movies, of like, don't just go around judge. And then it's so sad because that kind of shit's still happening today on a much grander scale, because it's happening on the fucking internet worldwide, where people are judging a book by its cover, and basically lynch mobbing poor innocent people just based on their appearances and tastes. That's my takeaway from that doc.
Huh.
But back to what I've recently watched. Brandy and I watched this movie called Camarilla. I think it's on Netflix. It was boring.
You sound really enthused.
It was boring. I'll move on. And then she showed me this doc that disturbed me to my core. It's on Amazon Prime. It's free on Prime. Good Night Sugar Babe. Has anybody else heard of this doc?
Nope.
Sounds familiar.
Oh my god! Now, on the surface, the doc itself, as far as like quality of the doc, is a little rough. It feels rather amateurish. It definitely feels low budget and a very do-it-yourself home post-production kind of feel to it, with how some of the voiceovers are and stuff like that. And but it's basically, I don't remember the state, but this woman was found dead on the railroad tracks, naked. And it just goes into this whole thing about this like totally fucked up family, and this like the mother of this family who is fucked in the head, where they just had this woman living with them, and she had gotten pregnant by one of her sons, and they had this woman living with them after she gave birth to the baby, because the mother wanted to keep the baby for herself. She was all about babies and children and stuff, maybe way more than any normal person would, if you catch my drift. And they would just continually, like the boys in this family would just continually beat the living shit out of this woman on a daily basis. They would not let her make decisions on her own. She could not leave at any point in time. She wouldn't leave because they had the baby in their care and all this, and just down to the point where they ended up taking her to the railroad tracks and killing her. It is messed up. It just my faith in humanity is so low as it is, and this is just like the bottom of the barrel of humanity that there is no humanity in this family. What am I talking about? And just the bottom of the barrel of scuzzy people I've ever witnessed. And it's just so sad to me because we see people like this within our own community, and God knows what's going on behind their closed doors. So yeah. It was an interesting doc, but definitely not for the weak of heart, I guess. I don't know. I'm probably, talking it up too much. The one I do want to talk up big time, now one of my favorites in the mockumentary genre. Finally have gotten to see this movie after listening to different podcasts and horror movie fans talk about it at lengths over the years, and I finally got to see the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Are you and I the only one? Has anybody else seen this?
I've seen it. It doesn't mess around. It's a little cringy at times for me, but it's effective.
Yeah, it's it's very effective. I thought I loved it. I thought it was great. I love the way they told the story and how it unraveled, and it's definitely does not go in a direction you expect it to go. And I just found the ending of the movie utterly chilling, and this like killer is almost feels like on a supernatural level of pure genius he is at his evilness. I mean, it's a great dog. It's definitely it's disturbing, but going in knowing that it's a not a real film, kind of desensitizes it a bit. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film. I definitely recommend it.
Where'd you watch it?
Oh, sorry, that one it's on Tubi.
Okay.
Freaking love Tubi, man.
Yeah. Well, Tad, what'd you watch?
Well, following in the great depressing documentary wave you guys are going, I think I can top them all, and I watched Allen versus Pharaoh on HBO Max, the new Woody Allen. So far, they only have 2 parts. I don't think I really need to tell you guys what it's about. It's certainly not about Woody Allen's film career. It's
Well, he
definitely
may have
dark.
filmed it.
Oh boy.
There is some film involved, but
Oh God!
it's a sad, dark documentary. But they talk to Mia Farrow and the family members and the kids, and I mean, I feel like everybody sort of knows a little bit about this stuff, but hearing it first hand and hearing, of course, he's come out and said, it's all false and taken out of context, and just the first episode, even if you take out some of the stuff that he would say is false, is pretty eye-opening, because the stuff that's true is absolutely true, and I don't think he would deny. He ended up marrying his, at the time, I don't think he ever even married her.
Stepdaughter?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
He was a legal guardian, though, right?
Right. Yeah, and yeah. Anyways, I won't dwell too much on that. It's really, I don't want to say good. It's captivating, but well made.
I look
well
forward
made.
to learning more about it.
Yeah, it's well made, and of course, it's on HBO Max, so it's going to be quality. But on other end of things, I watched. Now I'm just going to sound like I'm plugging things, because I watched. Everything I watched had a purpose. I rewatched Lamberto Bava's Demons for the Brett and Tony podcast on the Prescribed Film Podcast Network. That episode is now available. We had a blast talking about it.
Great episode, and don't ever underestimate your fact knowledge. I thought you did a great job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I was you were like living in my brain that entire night. I was like, did not want to disappoint you, so I'm glad I got your seal of approval on the episode. We had a lot of fun talking about it, and I think they had a lot of fun watching it for the first time. I was glad to introduce it to four new people, 4 new fans now. So the next thing I watched was a revisit of Alien Resurrection, because the Gorley and Russ podcast are covering the Alien franchise now, and I needed to brush up on Alien 3 and Resurrection, because I hadn't seen them in quite some time, and I remembered why after watching them.
Oh.
But I did. I don't know. Not my favorite, but it's flawed, but it's watchable, at least entertaining. So it has a killer cast, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Resurrection's cast is incredible. Other than that, I watched another very atrocious movie called The Next Karate Kid. And I won't spend too much time on that, because I spent 2 hours ripping it on my podcast. So
ripping it.
It is unbelievably bad. I mean, if there is a time capsule for the 90s, like, they should show this to people in the future and be like, this is why the 90s were garbage. This movie they took everything that Miyagi built up in the first 3 movies and just flushed it down the toilet. What a turd of a movie. It has a young Walter Goggins in it. It has to be the worst thing he's ever been in.
Wow.
It is unbelievably awful. I mean, a girl has a bird for a friend. It's so stupid. I hate this movie. There's monks that are used for comic relief. I fucking hate it. Fuck this movie.
That's just a
it's
taste.
And it's on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I watched, guys.
Oh, man.
If I may, since everybody suggested a doc, I did watch this last week, but I didn't want to talk about it because it's
The Britney Spears one.
I knew it.
I have that on beta, but don't ask me how that happened. But no, it's a fairly new one, and I don't remember what network it was on, but it's like literally 6 hours, dude. It's a pretty much a deep dive into the Charles Manson case, and it's called Helter Skelter: An American Myth, and it's like 6 hours. It details everything. It's got new footage of all this stuff. If you're into that sort of thing.
How many clips did Rob Zombie pull for his new album?
Oh God, I don't know, but I think actually, if he remade like Helter Skelter, he could use like a lot of people. Well, he could play Charlie Manson if he if he shrank a foot. But yeah, I think he could. I was just thinking about that. It's just like Jeff Daniel Phillips could play Danny DeCarlo like perfectly. But
he was in line to do a TV movie about Manson for a while.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, I don't think he could do TV, but yeah, I mean.
Well, I mean, probably more like now it'd be like streaming, not like network or anything.
Yeah.
But Rob Zombie was signed up to like direct a Charles Manson documentary or something.
But I will say this: if you're going to actually watch like the Helter Skelter movies, watch the one from the 70s. Don't watch the remake that they made in 2004. It's garbage compared to Steve Railsback's Charlie Manson. It's the one from the 70s is hands down the better film.
No, I correct myself. I just did a quick Google search. Rob Zombie actually did narrate a Charles Manson documentary called The Final Words.
Huh.
So
All right.
he did. It is completed. It came out, and he didn't have anything to do with the writing and directing, so it might be decent.
Oh,
Just kidding.
But-
Love you, Rob Zombie.
Yeah, but I think he could do a really really cool.
I'd love
If
if he directed it and like cast it, but did not write it.
Yeah, there, perfect.
Base
Just
it on like a book.
Yes, his style. Do it on Bugliosi's Helter Skelter book.
There we go.
That'd be perfect. That'd be perfect.
Cool. Well, I just want to say I've never watched The Next Karate Kid, but man, after listening to you talk about it, I wouldn't watch that movie with a 10-foot pole position with Jason.
From now on, like your parents were, you are the secret force of pole position.
all right, Mike. Nice work on your transitions. Getting really good.
Working hard on my segues.
I say.
I was gonna say like if a Segway could groan, it would actually groan.
I've been writing my segues while writing on my segue.
Moving on. So let's look back at for those of you who aren't Twitter inclined, Brian Clark, and we'll look at for the poll that we did for episode 228. What is your favorite war horror movies? You guys remember your answers? Insane Mike's was Dog Soldiers. I had Jacob's Ladder. Tad had Predator. Andy had Dead Snow. Any guesses? Oh, you're all going to say yourselves.
I know I didn't win.
That's correct. Tad got last place.
Woo! How the
Predator
mighty
got-
have fallen.
That's right.
Wow, that is
And
shocking.
there's a two-way tie for first. Andy and Jason.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Mike does not win again.
Damn it.
Oh, yeah.
You need a drum roll sound effect for this.
You need to learn how to work your Twitter so you can get some more votes. That's what you need to do.
I feel like my answer stands alone. I don't have to go out and campaign for.
Well, based on results, I think you do. So moving on. Let's look at this week's poll position. The question was asked, and what a fun one. Perfect for all of us. What's your favorite Tom Savini effect? how do you even narrow this down? What inspired this question? Who did it? Was it Andy?
That was me, yeah.
Where'd
And
that
I may
come
have
from?
changed mine.
Oh,
I don't know. I just was like halfway. I almost was thinking like, oh God, they've probably already done this before, but surprisingly enough,
yeah. Any chance to talk special effects? Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the effects the master himself, Insane Mike, I tried things and didn't work. The people are really excited because you are the effects guy in Prescribed Films. What? And you went to his school. You love Tom Savini.
I do love Tom Savini.
How'd you narrow this down?
This
And
was
what's your
tough.
pick?
You said this was like an easy one for us, and it was a tough one for me because how do you? It's like, what's your favorite child? You know.
Right.
But I decided to go with. Well, first I had to narrow it down to a movie. So I narrowed it down to Day of the Dead as far as the movie of his work and why he has always been on the top of my list, because when I first saw that movie, I had never seen anything like it up to that point in my life, effects wise, ever. Like up to that point, to me, I thought like, oh, gore effects is, let's dump some fake blood on some spaghetti and call it guts and throw it against the wall, So when I saw the craftsmanship of the effects works in Day of the Dead, I was blown away. And I was trying to remember that first viewing of Day of the Dead for me and which effect made my jaw drop to the floor. And I think I narrowed it down to, speaking of dropping on the floor, the zombie spilling his guts on the floor in
my
Day of the
God.
Dead. That's my
How'd
my
they do
pick.
that?
I know you can see an empty cavity there where the guts are.
And it's not CGI, so how'd they do it?
Yeah, how did they do it?
Oh man, what a good answer. Well,
magic.
I'm gonna go next and keep that Day of the Dead love train going. For me, it was easy for me because I got my answer in first, so that helped.
To be honest, it kind of helped me to knowing what everyone else's answers were.
But this movie, there were two movies that just solidified my love for horror, and I've spoke about in Evil Dead 2 when the eyeball flew across the room. I knew this was for me, and right around the same time as when I watched Day of the Dead, and it just blew my fucking mind. And the gore this movie made me a gore hound, and I've loved it ever since. So obviously, when Rhodes gets torn apart, there just isn't much better than that. It's besides the effect, just the moment in the story. This fucking asshole, you just spent 2 hours wishing he would get his, and he finally does, and it couldn't be more glorious. So.
Someone's got to do the impersonation.
Chocolate!
There we go.
And the thing is that he probably was choking because all those guts were real, but they had left the fridge unplugged.
Mhm.
So you're talking about 2 weeks
Rancid.
of rot. And they're just like, and these poor people, these poor extras and poor Joe Pilato are just taking all this in.
So gross.
I'm pretty sure the footage has been used in several docs about Savini or George Romero, maybe even on like some Day of the Dead behind the scenes or something. But I remember in Scream Greats, he tells that story in Scream Greats Volume 1, and they show behind the scenes shots with Tom's video camera where they are putting like aftershave lotion on a cloth and rubbing it under Joe's nose, and you would see a take and they would say cut, and then it just all the color flushes out of Joe's face at cut, and you could just see his cheeks start to poof, and you can just he's about to hark.
He's retching and just nasty.
All right, Tad, what's your pick?
Well, I knew when you guys both, I know like Day of the Dead is like the quintessential like Savini showcase. Like I remember seeing that too, and it was like something you had to show your friends. Like you don't even have to sit through the movie. I just want to fast forward to these scenes. I mean, it's a great movie, But I mean, this was just Savini showing off at this point. And it's always been like the most realistic looking, not necessarily even the most like over the top head explosion or something that he's done. But, so I had to pick something that I think is the most fun. And like he does a lot of really dark and obviously dark, but like I wanted to pick something that made me laugh. And so I went with the opening scene from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. When
Nice.
Buzz and Rick are cruising down the highway and they call in to Stretch's radio show and they're being assholes and dicks to her and they're caught, Leatherface catches up with them in his truck with his corpse friend and they he ends up using his old chainsaw and cutting Buzz's head off. Buzz is right off the top, so I'm going with Bubba's buzz cut. He chainsaws the top of his head off, and it's really cool because they're driving and you don't quite notice it, and then it slides off of his head and spewing blood squirts up in the air, and it's just fun. Like it's like a cartoon, but it's still incredibly bloody, and it just to me sums up this movie. It's like
good.
if you made Texas Chainsaw a cartoon, and this is so much fun. So yeah.
Great one. All right, Andy, how about you?
Yeah, I know I always do this. I know I change them at the last minute, but there's so many good ones in, that Savini did, between like, and there was one in Day of the Dead that I wanted to use because I could say the word moose clit, but I've already said it now, but it was the, and that's how he described it. I mean, in the documentary on the Shout Factory DVD, it's the former captain when Dr. Frankenstein, which is what they call him, with the all the electrodes are in the brain, and it's just like a brain with like a torso. I mean, I love that effect. And I was gonna say the shotgun blast in the Prowler, where the guy's just head explodes. But I feel like since I'm a hardcore fan of this series, I have to go with Jason's face sliding down the machete in part 4.
Yes.
Yeah, that was on my short list too.
So was the head explosion and mine. That was a short list one too. It was a good one.
Yeah, they run neck and neck, but I mean the face sliding down the machete is just so iconic. I can't pass that one up. But yeah, that's
I was amazed that these could get by the MPAA. Like, how did
Right?
these, especially
During that time.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, this isn't even an extended cut of Friday the 13th Part 4, and this by Part 4 it was such a mainstream, huge franchise, and to think like all these people came out and they were like, this is the one where Jason dies, and there could not have been more a definitive way. Like, holy shit,
Yeah.
he's slowly sliding down a fucking machete with his face. But my other one was like Fluffy. I thought about Fluffy because it's so different. He does great creatures that we just don't get enough of. Almost, he's known for zombies and realistic gore, but he makes cool creatures too.
Yeah, and I know there was a time in his career, at the height of his effects career, that kind of troubled him. That he was known as the gore guy, and he would always do good gore stuff, but he was so good at it. But we just talked about Burning not too long ago. Let's not forget about all the great effects in that movie too.
I mean,
but
you got an arrow through Kevin Bacon's throat. I mean, I know that's just like the go-to, but it's still classic.
But he did get to do some cool monsters like Fluffy. There was a couple of creatures he did for the Tales from the Dark Side series that are really, really cool looking.
What was the Christmas one? That Christmas monster. Now I'm drawing a blank,
but there is one movie I just want to bring it up real quick. That is a very lesser known Savini effects job, and I've been struggling to try to find this movie. I got a VHS bootleg of it, and I've been struggling to try to find this movie since then. And I don't think it's ever been released anywhere in the States ever. But it's a movie called Till Death Do Us Scare. And it's a Japanese movie that he did effects for, and it's not a gore splatter film at all. It's a ghost movie, and so it's got so much more surreal supernatural effects in it that he got to do. There's like a scene where one of the ghosts does the whole like put the fingers in your cheeks and pull your cheeks apart and stick your tongue out and make funny faces kind of thing. Only he extends the cheeks out like 5 feet apart, and then birds come flying out of his mouth.
Well,
It's stuff like that. A lot of really cool effects like that he got to do in that movie. And man, I wish somebody would release that movie in the States, like on a nice Blu-ray or something.
Well, I always think of like when he was on like Nickelodeon, he was on Letterman and stuff, and he would show some gore effects. But like when he was on, I think it was Nickelodeon, he was just only showing his creature stuff, and it was just sort of cool to see that side of him. It was like he clearly had to sort of tone it down for kids, but he was like almost like playful version of Savini, like, oh, I get to show this side of myself. And he brought out Fluffy, and he brought out a few other characters. It's just cool to see.
Absolutely.
all right. Listeners, get your butts over to Twitter at AOTKP and make your voices heard and vote for who you think got it right of those 4 choices. And we'll read your results later, but that's pole position.
All right, so now it is time to get into our topic at hand. We went through our movie collections, and we're collectors. We buy a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll buy the same movie over and over again when there's a new release, a new 4K restoration or whatever. So there's times, or where maybe we're going to like Dollar Tree and find actually a bunch of cool movies for only like $1.
Looking at you, Brian Godsill.
So we'll have movies that sometimes end up on our shelves that doesn't get opened. And so the point of these episodes is to get us to freaking watch our freaking collections.
Yeah, I thought the other caveat was that we haven't seen this movie before.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want to, I'm
Wasn't
sorry if I
just
misled there, but the point is like not that we are pick movies that we've purchased, we've set on the shelf, but we've never actually watched before. So
And don't pretend like you don't have movies on your shelf are all unwrapped. So
Oh, I don't.
no, I mean the listener.
Oh, the listeners.
Everybody.
Yeah, shame on you.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So, first we're going to start off with Tad. What movie did you dig out of your collection?
Well, I feel sort of bad because this is I've neglected the ones that have been sitting there for literally years to watch something I just got a few months ago. So it's almost cheating, and I'm pulling one movie out of a collection of 20. But I'm finally checking some Hammer off my list with The Revenge of Frankenstein.
In the year 1860, I, Baron Frankenstein, was sentenced to death on the guillotine. Why? Why had the world condemned me? Because I was the first man to create another living being. The first unnatural man. But because his brain was affected, because he could not control his animal instincts, he was hunted down and brutally murdered. But I have escaped the guillotine, and I shall avenge the death of my creation. Nobody. He isn't born yet.
You will witness scenes never before seen on a motion picture screen. You will see Frankenstein take the eyes of one man, the brain of another. You will see lifeless hands begin to move. You will see a man turn into the world's most terrifying monster.
right. The Revenge of Frankenstein was released in September 1958 by Hammer Studios, starring Peter Cushing, directed by Terence Fisher, and written by Jimmy Sangster. Having escaped execution and assumed an alias, Baron Frankenstein transplants his deformed underling's brain into a perfect body, but the effectiveness of the process and the secret of his identity soon begin to unravel. Like I said, I got this in the Ultimate Hammer collection from Mill Creek. I think that title is a bit misleading as far as the Ultimate Hammer collection, but I don't know a whole lot about Hammer. I will say that's a big gap in my horror history. I don't know a lot. I haven't seen a lot. I think I have seen a few films here and there. I can't recall what I've seen or what's sort of blurry in there. I've seen some old British horror, and it's like, was that Hammer? I don't know, but yeah, I decided after going through the set and sort of narrowing it down, this one seemed to be a good starting point, even though it's technically a sequel. But, oh man, I liked the look of it. I liked Peter Cushing. I love the score. I love some of the cool like creature effects and stuff. But overall, I found it sort of boring, to be honest. For an hour and a half, it felt a lot longer to me. I felt it dragged in spots. I was expecting a little more camp, I guess. It was, and like I said, I just don't have a lot of experience with Hammer, so maybe I went in expecting something different. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. I think it probably deserves a second rewatch when I'm more in the mood, probably in October, around Halloween time when I'm really full on into this old style horror. But I enjoyed it, didn't love it, but I'm glad I opened it, and I want to dig into this box set now and get a few more watched, just sort of like when we did last Unwrapping, when I did a Mario Bava film. I got into more of that stuff and really enjoyed that. So what did you guys think?
I'm on par with Tad on this one. This almost seems like to me anyway, it seems like a lazy Sunday afternoon on the couch kind of movie where you're just, you're kind of halfway into it, but you're just almost too lazy to turn the channel. It's like, there's really good stuff into it that, the sets and the score and just the overall, ambiance to it. But I mean, it just, it did kind of drag. And I mean, some of the characters were quirky enough, like, the guy who doesn't bathe and, he's always, he does a shit job at cleaning everything. And, it almost kind of echoed, I guess H.P. Lovecraft's, Reanimator, where, they had an assistant and he's kind of teaching him things. I mean, it really made me think of like Herbert West and, the other guy, but like, this is the first time that like Reanimator got ripped off. But I can't really say a whole lot about this other than that it's Ted said it perfectly. I mean, I don't dislike it. It's got its merits, but I'm not in love with it, and it drags in spots, and I don't think I've heard a church bell dong more than,
dong?
100. Yeah. Gong. Okay. It gongs like 115 times before, like, Dr. Frankenstein goes to the gallows. I mean,
it's 115
like
o'clock.
Dong, dong. I guess so. But
Exactly. That was annoying the hell out of me.
I know, right? It's just like, if I do have one major complaint, I was just like, quit ringing the fucking bell, Quasimodo. Shut the fuck up.
You go ahead.
I fucking love this movie.
Awesome.
Oh my god, this was the best movie out of all of them. Jesus Christ, this movie is so great. You guys are crazy. Oh my god, like I'm 100% in from the beginning. Peter Cushing is the fucking man. I might be changing my Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, who's my favorite, going back and forth. But Peter Cushing was amazing in this, and I was just 100% in it from the beginning, trying to figure out this guy basically being Frankenstein, and him getting the assistant, the girl, the perfect body, the henchman guy. I loved it all. Yes, the score is great. I thought the acting was awesome. I loved it. Jeez, I'm just having a blast with these old movies. And it's 58, like somewhere between then and the 70s. I don't know if it's just seeing movies on film that does it, but gosh dang, this movie was awesome.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to side with the others on this one. So, like, I've obviously over the past few years have been expanding my hammer as well, because
your hammer,
I almost spit my drink into the microphone. He's growing his cushion.
The sweeter the pushing. The more cushing, the sweeter the pushing.
I'm glad you said growing my Cushing and not growing my Peter. So, expanding my Hammer film viewing as well, gaining more knowledge in Hammer films. Because when I was younger, the few that I had seen, I thought were rather boring, and I didn't quite understand or appreciate what Hammer did at the time. And since then, I've seen a lot of stuff that I really, really love from Hammer Studios. But mostly the stuff outside of their version of the Universal Monster films. And I've always been still kind of nervous, because those are some of the ones I saw when I was younger, of coming back to these ones based on Universal Monster movies. And I think, like, in particular, the Frankenstein films. And I think I figured out one of my hesitations as I sat down to watch this movie was, like, why is there so many Frankenstein movies? Like, how many times? Because if you have a Frankenstein movie, you have to have a Dr. Frankenstein as well as a monster. And so the plot's going to be the same thing every time. It's like this mad scientist making a monstrous creation, right? Like, how original can you do this concept? I thought they did a very good job of trying to do something different with this. The angle of transplanting this guy's brain into a body because he's got an affliction, and transporting the brain is so it was more than just creating life out of new life out of old parts. It was kind of like
yeah, totally.
So I appreciated that, but still at the same time, it's still kind of the same beats. It's like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. There's always going to be a dinner scene. So it's kind of the same thing. You always know there's going to be, lab experiments and electricity bubbling cauldrons and stuff, and an hour before we get to our mad scientist's creation. So I think, like, I'm getting to the point now where I'm going to put the Frankenstein's monster, based on that very one-sided analysis that I just came up with, as on the bottom of the monsters for me, just because I don't know, it just feels like the same thing over and over again. Terrence Fisher, though, I've really learned to love him as a director, and it's a bummer that I didn't like this one. I just really did kind of find it boring, but man, he's got some great stuff, man. Like, we all watched Devil Rides Out for the show, and that movie's great.
Mm-hmm.
Island of Terror, I did that for an Insane's Pick, I think last year, and I freaking loved that. We should all watch Gorgon together. That's a really good one. I even remember when I was younger, I had on VHS Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, and I actually remember enjoying that one. So the Frankenstein concept's not a complete loss. But he's just done so much stuff for Hammer. Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, Horror Dracula, Curse of the Werewolf, tons and tons of stuff. So, he is the Hammer studio master, and it's the stuff again outside of the Universal Monster movies. Universal monsters, that's the stuff I really connect with, is the stuff outside of that, with like Devil Rides Out and Island of Terror and so on. I also, I just always have a hard time with period films. So if you got movies, in the 1800s, that's just, I just can't connect with it.
Me too. It's already setting off on a bad foot for me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it's an uphill battle if it starts in that time period. So yeah, I don't know. It was fine. Like this movie, I think in one word for me, it's fine. Like I don't know when I'll rewatch it, but I feel like I got a huge value out of the box set, and there'll be some I love, some I hate, some that are okay. But if I watch all of them, I got my money's worth. So
yeah, absolutely, and that's true. This isn't a bad movie.
No,
it's
not
just,
at all.
It's just not in my wheelhouse. I mean, and I'm on the Peter Cushing love train. I think I had this epiphany here as well when I'm watching him do things like putting on a jacket. Like, I think I've just fallen in love with watching Peter Cushing doing mundane things. He's got such an elegance and a sophistication to every little thing he's doing. When he's sitting there eating the chicken, like I am more captivated watching him like slice off a piece of chicken, and then he puts the little piece of chicken on his fork and he dips it in something and then eats it and then offers the guy a piece.
Yeah, he's like, would you like some chicken?
I'm way more fascinated about that than I am about the conversation that's actually going on in the scene. So, I mean, I'm there with you guys. I'll watch Peter Cushing and everything, and he's just great. But yeah, so I mean, there's good stuff. There's great stuff in this movie. It's just not my cup of tea.
I really loved the performance of Carl. I thought he was great. I loved how like different it was that like he started talking pretty soon. Like he got his faculties back pretty quick. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
But the thing I thought, I don't know, I haven't seen tons of these, but it seemed like a story concept that I hadn't seen in any of these before. But what was fucking cool is that Dr. Victor was building himself a perfect body to put his brain in.
Yeah.
That was fucking awesome. I thought that was really
cool.
neat. Like this whole time you thought he was doing, I mean, he was helping his guy, but he was also building a perfect body for himself, which was pretty neat.
And feeding his cannibalistic chimp.
Yeah, I assume that has to do with the first one, maybe? I don't know.
Well, and I was going to say that too. I also do like the fact that these Hammer monster movies are like, it's a series, it's a franchise, it's a continuing story. I'm a big franchise fan, and
They have an MCU.
Yeah, basically. So I love how like this is an actual sequel to their first Frankenstein movie. So and it starts where the last one left off after it supposedly had been hung. So yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. Especially if you're like the rest of us and really trying to increase our Hammer film knowledge. So, but with that said, Jason, what movie did you unwrap?
The movie I unwrapped, and I've been trying to unwrap this one for several unwrappings. That's too much unwrapping. Is this awesome movie from 1993, Matinee.
How could such a thing happen, Dr. Grabau?
The ant's saliva must have gotten into Bill's bloodstream and gone straight to his brain, just as the radiation, which is measured in units called Roentgens, was released.
And that's how he became a...
Mant.
Gotcha! For the kids of Key West, Florida, there was nothing scarier than a monster matinee.
Lawrence Woolsey, the master of movie horror, exterminates you with Mant.
The story of Mant is based on scientific fact, on theories that have appeared in national magazines.
But in the fall of 1962,
a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on the island of Cuba.
They got the biggest scare of all.
They're gonna bomb us?
The country is on red alert.
And what a perfect time to open a new horror movie.
That'd be the best show to take a girl to.
The whole world's gonna blow up anyway, so we should just do whatever we want.
You know, last guy she went out was in reform school.
He did teach me a lot.
What about?
About my body.
Think if the bomb were about to fall, she'd do it with me?
Wait till you see the feelers on this thing.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Some of it's stage lighting, some of it's magic show stuff. But the big studios, none of them have anything like it. You never, ever turn one above 6.
This is it!
From Joe Dante, director of Gremlins.
You see what he's putting back? The showmanship.
The bombs are falling!
You think this is some kind of picnic for me?
I'm still concerned about that bomb thing.
Little question of taste.
No, but your younger patrons, you could have some seat wetness.
John Goodman.
I love this business.
Matinee.
Man, I've seen this twice.
In October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis occurs and the menace of nuclear war looms over the American South. Low-budget filmmaker Lawrence Woolsey, played by John Goodman, is in Key West, Florida, debuting his new film Mant, and thinks the prevailing mood of fear surrounding the premiere is perfect to stir up some excitement. A local group of teenagers prepare for the film's opening night, experiencing small crises of their own. I assume you guys have seen this already.
I haven't. First time for me.
This was the first time for me as well.
Well, all right.
I have seen this before, but it has been years, so I was really grateful to get to come back to this one.
Yeah, so it's not, it's not really a horror movie, but, it has that definite horror vibe of, the 50s and so on. And
it's definitely more of a comedy.
Horror adjacent.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of themes that would appeal to horror fans, especially horror fans of 50s and 60s horror films.
Yeah, I spent the whole movie just I don't know. It made me smile through the whole thing. That I felt like we were getting a very autobiographical Joe Dante childhood. These are the times that he grew up.
Yeah.
These are the things he loved and feared. With the duck and cover and having to be around that, and how that maybe did play into his love and fear of movies, and how all that played together. And I don't know, it just made me smile just thinking about little Joe Dante running around back then.
I love this line. This was my favorite of the episode.
Yeah,
first time watch for me, and it was just so damn cool. Like you said, not necessarily a horror, so sort of, I don't know, but that doesn't matter to me. I just had a blast watching this. It's like a mixture of, like The Sandlot, but like from a movie nerd perspective rather than like the baseball kids, and I loved everything about it. It was really cool.
This is like you guys, and I'll just reiterate before, this is like Dante's love letter to his childhood that inspired him to probably become a filmmaker of sorts. And if you guys do not see William Castle in the character that this Lawrence Woodsley or whatever, literally at the beginning of this film is his promo. It's a direct ripoff for Homicidal, with the shadowing and the big cigar in his mouth, and and the lights come up, and I'm just like, okay, that's William Castle. and it just goes to show all the gimmicks that you see in this film. I mean, they have of course they have different names in this film, but like the gimmick that he used in the Tingler, which is escaping me, and I feel like I should know this, but with the shocking buzzers underneath the seats, and it's just like it takes you back to a time when going to a film was more than just okay, I'm going to go see a movie. There was
an event.
Exactly. There was this sense of pageantry and pizzazz and all these gimmicks to just draw you in, and it was just I am automatically drawn to that. I love it when like filmmakers romanticize about this time of filmmaking. Like, for instance, when and I don't want to stray too far off track here, but like when Psycho came out, you had all these these gimmicks of like, okay, you can only be let in because we don't want to you don't want to give out the ending of the movie about
no one will be admitted after the
exactly
first. Yeah.
And I'm seeing like this big advertisement of Psycho of the DeMille Theater, and I believe it was New York. And it literally, the whole 3/4 of the side of this building is the advertisement for Psycho, and it's got lights going through the cracks. I'm just like, I'd have had a goddamn car wreck just looking up at the budget. This thing is just it's gorgeous. I mean, I copied a picture off the internet and I made an 8x10 off of it on Shutterfly. I got it framed. I just think it's awesome. And it's just there will never be another time like that, I think, in film. I mean, yeah, granted you're going to see billboards, on like the West Coast and bigger stuff like that, but nothing quite like this will probably ever happen again. Just what a time to be a film fan. I mean, and look what this era of film gave us. I mean, it gave us the Joe Dantes, it gave us the John Carpenters, it gave us all the guys that we love. So I mean, yeah. Back to the movie, which is what I should be talking about, but great movie. Absolutely adored this film, and I'm glad I got a chance to watch it.
Yeah, I love this movie as well. I'm just a big Joe Dante fan in general, and so anytime you see Joe Dante's name appear on the screen, there's definitely a lot of things that I know I'm going to see, and in a Joe Dante movie, you're going to see the usual cast of characters that show up in Joe Dante movies, like Dick Miller, of course, Robert Picardo, John Sayles, Belinda Blasky, even Kevin McCarthy shows up in this, and in the movie within the movie Mant. I want to touch on that for a bit. I love all the Mant scenes. I mean, I could just watch a whole movie of
give me Mant.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you get the Scream Factory Shout Select version, it has the full-length version of Mant with introduction by Joe Dante.
Oh, that's cool. I definitely need that. But what's great about the Mant stuff is the dialogue and the performances. Well, first of all, he casted a lot of actors within Mant that were actually actors from that era of films, of sci-fi and horror films from that time period, aka like Kevin McCarthy and stuff like that. And the line deliveries and the dialogue in those scenes and the way it's shot, it's not like a satire in a sense. Take like movies like Lost Skeleton of Cadavra or the fake movies within the movie Popcorn, stuff like that. This is like how those movies were, and Joe Dante is making a early 1960s atomic sci-fi horror film,
not a parody of one, but an actual in style.
Yeah, I love the moments with like the dentist, and he'll say a word, and then you can tell where the parentheses go in his dialogue when he gives the definition of that word immediately after within the same sentence. That's the shit you would see in those movies, and it's so freaking great. I even love the other movie that we get to see a little bit of, the shook up shopping cart. Or the woman's uncle is a shopping cart, which is totally satirizing like the Disney movies from that time period. And even that is like when you first watch it, when you're first watching it, and if you're familiar with like 60s Disney live action Disney movies, you're thinking to yourself watching this, you're like, is this a Disney movie I didn't know about? Because it plays on the same beats as those movies. And it just goes to show that this movie is a love letter to that time period of being a film geek that Joe Dante was. I mean, the kid in this movie, his room is cluttered with Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. It even has issue number 18 featured in his bedroom, which has a letter from a young Joe Dante in the letters page of that issue.
Wow.
So that it's just those details are, in this movie are just so cool. John Goodman nails it as Woolsey. I thought he's great and everything. I love John Goodman, but he totally captures the whole William Castle thing, and yeah, they're not even trying to pretend that this isn't William Castle. I mean, it's 100% William Castle,
Yeah.
and I love that too because I love that time period as well for that showmanship of the film going experience. I just feel like I was totally born in the wrong decade because I just would love to be in that time period where you can buy for like a quarter Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine hot off the rack for the first time, or comic books from that era, which I feel like are the best comic books still. And then going and getting your ass shocked by going to watch The Tingler in the theater and stuff like that. It's just, I just love that those gimmicks and that showmanship so much. But I also want to point out too, the dialogue in this movie is so well written. I was just really captivated by the dialogue in this, and maybe a lot of that has to do again with the performances. But take like John Goodman's speech when he's walking with the kid and explaining to him about the cave paintings, the mammoth on the cave paintings, and he's walking through the theater and explaining, the motivation for what he does. It's such a well written speech. It's like it's one of my favorite moments of the movie is that bit of dialogue. But yeah, great movie. I don't know what else to say. I think I've probably summed it up.
All said.
Yeah, I love how it made it feel like going to the movies is what was like a kid's like first option. Like you could go out and play catch, or you could, but like it seemed like the go-to thing was go to the movies, and like all kids just constantly got to just go to the movies, and that's because theaters were on every block, and it was just such a cool time.
Very much so. And there's also, going beyond everything that we've saying about our love for the stuff from this time period and Joe Dante's love for this time period, but there's a really interesting message within this movie with the whole fear of the getting bombed and what have you, and the whole duck and cover thing from that era, and how that's the really scary thing that's going on. And these horror films are an escape from that. But just there's some lines and speeches about that what was it? One of them, I think John Goodman was saying towards the end of the movie about how the crisis was averted and was over, and we're not going to bomb them, they're not going to bomb us, whatever. And John Goodman's just like, people were scared now, and things are better until the next thing that comes around and scares them, or something along those lines. And man, just how crazy relevant that is through the next several decades, even leading up to today. Like just the constant fear of the people who are in control and just taking us down the wrong path.
And we have a fun side story about love and, funny relationship stuff where the boyfriend's threatening his friend, don't go out with her. So he tells her that he can't go see Coral with her, and then runs into her at the movie theater. Pretty funny stuff.
It's run-of-the-mill teenage angst that, everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Very coming of age.
A lot of great coming of age stuff. That's definitely the thing. The words I was looking for.
And when they're listening to the record, and the mom comes in, and you feel for the main character because his dad is out there, and back then it wasn't, you just don't know. There's no communication, there was no hearing, and everybody sort of, he came into school as a new kid, sort of the loser, and everybody sort of has a little bit of sympathy for him, and use that to sort of as a conversation starter almost. It seemed like everybody was interested in that, and then but it's just like I even remember before all these crazy times, like a lot of my life revolved around what movie was coming out when. It was like, oh, I can't wait to go see this, and makes me miss it quite a bit.
I love the relationship between the two brothers in the beginning, and just how the little brother obviously idolizes his older brother, and his older brother picks on him, but with like trying to scare him and stuff with these movies. But he knows his brother can take it, and he's not trying. He's having fun picking on his brother, but not being mean and malicious about it. But just that scene where they're walking home after going to the movies, and there's like little key things that the older brother would say, and the little brother would repeat. Very cute.
And the one scene that made me laugh too was another one out of several, was when the guy at the gas station was getting his autograph, and he, "Thanks so much, Mr. Hitchcock."
Yes.
And his assistant laughs hysterically because she's like just rooting against him the whole movie.
Which poor William Castle, he had to deal with that shit too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That had to be taken from reality as well. But yeah, Matinee, great movie. I feel like it's kind of a forgotten Joe Dante film, so glad that we can talk about it now.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, what's your movie?
Okay, our next film comes to us from 1984 and in 3D, no less. This one is called Silent Madness.
These conditions are inhuman.
These patients are inhuman. We get all the weird ones, the real crazies.
Pam?
How can you and Dr. Kruger keep releasing patients as disabled as Romano?
I believe I know more about these matters than you do, Dr. Gilmore.
Oh my God. They released the wrong man.
Silent Madness. A terrifying, suspense-filled voyage into the dark places of the mind. Inside your head, the screaming never stops. Silent Madness. Rated R.
Okay, Silent Madness, 1984. A criminally insane man is accidentally released from a mental hospital. The staff tries to cover up, but a young psychiatrist, played by Belinda Montgomery, travels to the college town where he committed several murders years before, and she wants to warn the locals and anticipate his arrival. This comes out from like a string of 3D films that were made in the 80s that they wanted to capitalize on, and then it went away like 3D does, like a bad fart every now and then. Basically, I think you had Amityville 3D, Jaws 3D, this, and then the good 3D film that came out of that, which was Friday the 13th. I know that some of you are going to rake this over the coals, but I like this movie, but I like it for the wrong reasons, because it takes all the good stuff from Halloween, Black Christmas, and Friday the 13th and tries to work it into one film. Let me put it to you like this. I like all those films, but my analogy goes a little bit like this. It's like, I like Fruity Pebbles and I like chili, but I wouldn't put them in the same bowl. I mean, our killer who comes back, it's called Silent Madness for a reason, but he doesn't say anything. Apparently, he just looks like a methed out janitor with like a lot of purple eyeliner on. And you've got like you've got like the worst sanitarium I've ever seen in my life, with like the sleaziest orderlies, just, I mean, they're even they're what it could be argued that the orderlies are like even more demented than the actual killer is. Yeah, this movie it's pretty damn silly, but I think I like it for that reason. And you've got a typical, trope of like a very, ignorant sheriff who apparently never leaves his office, and he likes to drink on the job. And I love the fact that he's like the guy that wants his cigarettes from one flew over the cuckoo's nest. I can't remember his name, but he said, "Piss on your rules, Miss Ratched. I want my cigarettes." He doesn't say cigarettes; he says cigarettes, which is hilarious. God, what else? The old lady that runs the sorority house. Yeah, you know that she was going to be, completely nuts, and she is. I will say some of the cooler things that I did like was, but they still made no sense, was the drill press to the head of the back of that orderly, which, I don't know why a drill press is down there. Where these girls store their luggage is the most bizarre goddamn place I've ever seen. Like, let's just head down into this creepy boiler room. That's where we put our suitcases.
Tina was freaking out about that. It was so
God, it's some good 3D came out of the 80s. I mean, it was dated, but the 3D stuff that I saw in this film was prehistoric. It's really very pausey. Like the time he threw the hatchet, which was just like, oh my God, what am I watching?
What version of this do you have?
I actually have the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray of this.
Wow.
Now, don't they have a version of it on that where you can watch it with the red and blue 3D glasses?
Yeah, but I didn't watch it in that.
Okay.
The one thing, and I'll let you guys go ape shit on this thing here in a minute, but the one thing that I just found that was so damn funny. I'm from the sticks and I've shot shotguns before, but the fact that this guy came in there with a double barrel shotgun with his hands tied behind his back, he fires both triggers, and I'm supposed to believe that shit? The recoil alone would have broke his goddamn wrists, and it would have sent the shotgun into the hallway, but wow. Yeah, what it was. Although, okay, one last thing. The one thing that I find very redeeming about this film, the blue shag interior of that van is so fucking awesome.
Made me miss an old van I used to have.
Oh my God, that's so pimp. That is the shaggin' wagon of all shaggin' wagons. That thing is I was almost really pissed off that he started messing it up with a sledgehammer. But anyway, guys, go nuts. Rip it apart. Get crazy.
Well, I suppose I could probably start when I say I loved this one.
Of course you did.
Of course you did.
Well, with I'll say right off the bat, I'm a sucker for early 80s slasher films. The look and the feel and the aesthetic of those movies. Even the worst ones will have a little bit that I love here and there. But I'm going to tell you this. This whole movie for me was worth it for the beginning of the movie when they are in the sanitarium and they're in the open courtyard. There is an actress playing one of the patients in the background that is doing. She has her hands in these like parachute pants pockets, and she's doing this.
Really important to the scene, and that's all you can watch in that scene.
It was the best. Like I'm like, Brandy, check this out. We rewound it and watched it again just to watch her do this like thing in.
You still don't know what dialogue happened.
No, I have no idea. It doesn't matter. It was so much fun. It was a blast watching this woman with we call her Crazy Pocket Lady. So that for me was worth the whole movie. But I wish I could have seen this in the 3D. I might have to get the Vinegar Syndrome's Blu-ray of this so I can watch it in 3D because
I think it's still available.
Cool. I hope so. Because I'm a sucker also for shitty, cheesy, pointing stuff right into the camera 3D shots like this. I enjoyed all those moments. The movie had Elizabeth Catane in it.
Yeah,
and
Barbara.
Well, I'm confused because I could have sworn. So Brandy and I are watching it, right? And I see the girl on the skateboard, and I'm like, that's Elizabeth Catane. That's totally her. And Elizabeth Catane, she's from Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, Friday the 13th Part 7, Solid the Killer Bimbos, Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity. She's done a lot of stuff in the 80s that I really love. So, we immediately look her up on IMDb, and the picture for the kill scene of the girl on the skateboard is the profile picture for an actress named Solly Marks. And I'm like, oh, I guess that wasn't Elizabeth Catane. And we just keep watching, and it's just bugging me. I'm like, I could have sworn that was her. So I looked it up again, and then it does show Elizabeth Catane in the movie, in the credits of this movie. So I'm like, I'm confused on where Elizabeth Catane really was in this movie. But yeah, it's a pretty cheesy slasher film, but I think to me that's the charm of it. It was a lot of fun to watch. It's also got Vivica Linfords as Miss Collins. She was Aunt Bedelia in Creepshow. And then, Sidney Lassick as the sheriff. Like, what great casting there. Casting him as a sheriff of this town, I thought it was hilarious. So there's just a lot of fun I had in this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun and funny, even though I'm pretty sure all the humor was unintentional. But that's why I enjoyed it. Now you guys can tear it apart.
Go ahead, Ted.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think I prefer Silence and Madness over Silent Madness. That was a mic joke.
Out of the park. Well done.
Yeah. I just what's something nice to say? There was a few things like that entertained me, I guess, but I don't see any. I can't believe you'd put this in the same sentence as Black Christmas and Friday the 13th.
How dare you? Credibility trash can.
Well, I'm just saying they stole from it. I mean, it's just.
Oh yeah,
that's basically what they tried to do.
Yeah, and I don't know. What do I even say about this? Because I watched it like 3 or 4 days ago, and I don't remember much of it. Thank God. When you said that Vinegar Syndrome probably still had copies, I don't imagine why they wouldn't. I don't know who's buying this, besides you. But I think I would rather drink vinegar, and I don't know. There's
you
too
tried.
many.
You tried.
Yeah, I quit. I don't have anything nice to say, so I won't say any more thing else. We'll let Jason move
My
on
mom
here.
told me that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
At least wait till they're out of the room.
Guys, all right, I'll try. I don't have anything good to say, so I'll try to just not be too mean. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
At least you're not being too mean.
It's like got the worst writing I've ever heard, the worst dialogue, some of the worst directing I've ever seen in a movie. In a heartbeat, give me any Tim Ritter shot on video movie 100% over this piece of shit. I hated it. I can't. All right, I'm spiraling. Help me. It sucks. I hate it. There is nothing. There is no redeeming quality about this turd.
You have no idea how much you're entertaining me right now.
No, I hated my life having to watch this. I considered quitting the podcast having to watch this. Tina almost broke up with me because I made her watch this.
I got on my phone and watched videos of puppies dying because I felt it was better.
It was uplifting compared to this turd. Guys, stay away from this movie. Do not watch it. Do not waste your time. This movie on every single level sucks.
I think you're selling it more than you think.
No, that's fine.
Well, that was my thing. Is like, I don't even know what to say about it because I don't even have anything, like, it just has nothing, like, it is empty to me. I forgot about it. It's just I had a hard time even paying attention.
Yeah. It's the last place for me.
It's not entertaining to me at all.
It's not really that good, but I mean that's just like
so
I have
poorly made.
I said, I like it for I have a like for it for all the wrong reasons.
And and it's not just because Tad set it up, because he watched it first, I think, and he gave the best comment I've ever heard in my life. All we got in our little chat thread is suddenly out of nowhere, Tad mentions Silent Madness, and he says, "Should have kept that wrapped." I just pissed my pants and couldn't have been more right. Oh, Lord, why? Why?
I'm sorry.
Oh, Andy.
I'm sorry.
I'm definitely done. Sorry.
I knew it was a bad sign when I found it to watch for free on YouTube. Like no one cares enough about this movie to take it down. They're not losing any money by keeping it on YouTube because no one's buying it. There's no one who wants to stake claim for it, because if you try to take it down for copyright, that means you own it, and you don't want to be the person who owns Silent Madness. So, if you want to subject yourself to this, it's on YouTube for free in a decent. I mean, I can't say decent quality because you could put this out in 4K, right? You could put it in 4K, and it's still gonna be a piece of shit. Maybe even worse.
A new low.
I have a shrink wrapper at work if you'd like to send your Blu-ray to me, and I can wrap it back up and we can pretend this never happened.
I would love Oh, Lord.
Oh, man.
This was the first one I watched.
It was...
Save the worst for first.
Yeah, because it'll only go uphill from there, right?
Exactly.
You would hope.
Yeah.
All right. Well, apparently we're
Can we move on?
divided on this one, so we can move on.
A house divided.
That's right. So my movie that I or unwrapped for this episode is The Curse of Lalorna.
Lalorna.
Trisha, I'm very sorry about your loss.
It's your fault!
I can't even imagine how you must feel.
Your children
Rinsing.
are safe now. But have they heard her crying? Have they felt the sting of her tears? They will. And she will come for them. Who? La Llorona.
Father, can you help us?
The church works with people who specialize in situations like this. Get to La Llorona.
Is she coming?
She's already here.
What do we do?
We are facing an evil. It has no bounds.
Rinsing.
The Curse of Lalorna.
La 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 Lorna. La 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 Lorna.
I wonder how you'd pronounce
la,
it.
La la Lorna. Anna ignores the warnings of a troubled mother suspected of child endangerment. Anna is a social worker who also just happens to be a single mother of two, because of course she is. They don't see where this is we obviously don't see where that's going to go. She has the children taken away from the mother, fearing that the mother has been abusing the children. Anna and her kids start also experiencing supernatural things, to the point where, you guessed it, her kids are being threatened to be taken away by social services as well. She teams up with a man who used to be a priest who helps the family get rid of Lalorna at any cost. This movie's okay. I was excited when I saw the star was Linda Cardellini. I love her and everything she does.
Yep.
All the way back to Freaks and Geeks, you know it. Scooby-Doo, absolutely. I just kind of feel like, there's some cool moments in this movie. I really love the fake out in the beginning of the last act where you think it's the ghost, but it turns out to be somebody else creeping into the house. But overall, I just kind of felt like this movie was kind of just paint by the numbers, generic, modern ghost story type of thing. So
they sort of have a formula now for this. Is in the Conjuring universe, I believe.
Oh, that's right. It is. That's one of the reasons why I picked it, because Brandy and I grabbed a bunch of movies, put them in stack, and like, well, which one? And we narrowed it down to this one. And she's been wanting to just kind of watch them all in chronological order. And so this is one that was completely even off my radar, that we had no idea that this was part of that universe, but I guess it is. So
yeah, to me, it falls in that realm of The Nun, where I'm, like you sort of said, it's paint by the numbers. I feel bad because I really enjoy the cast. It has a dude from Breaking Bad. It has some heavy moments to it, and it has some pretty decent scenes. It's well made. That's one thing I can appreciate about this, like compared to, in the scale of this episode, it's a fucking Oscar movie, but normal world, this is something that I would stop and watch on Stars, like at 2 a.m. When it's halfway through or something. It's fine. Again, it's fine, but not something I'll ever need to watch again. But it's well made. It's a pretty movie. It's like you said, they have a formula. They stick to it and accomplish it, but it's a bunch of jump scares. I'm not a big ghost movie person anyways, so it had that going against it. But I thought the heavy stuff, like where the two kids when we first sort of learn about the curse, and then they find them drowned. That was an emotional moment. No matter how heartless you are, it's fucking sad.
Oh yeah.
And the grief she feels, and then her kids, like that scene was probably staying out to me. When she goes to visit the scene, and her kids are in the car, and they're getting attacked by Lorena, and it's like, that was probably like my favorite sequence. Just, it was heavy, and then she was coming after them. But I find the whole like ghost thing, even if it's in a different, and it felt like this movie didn't have enough culture to it. Like for the culture this story comes out of, it felt very Americanized.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was thinking you were talking maybe the time period, because Brandy pointed it out. It's like the movie takes place in the 70s, and
it does not feel
really,
like that to me.
Linda's clothes, maybe those pants.
Well, you get a few things here and there, like a
but yeah.
Volkswagen Bug car
But
and
the Conjuring,
televisions, but
like I think Conjuring 2 does it like perfectly.
Yep.
It really nails it, and it makes a difference. If it doesn't, I did not feel I was in that era at all.
no.
And
And I think, well, for me, and I guess I'm rather surface about these things, but for me, the 70s is all about gaudy colors and, and whatnot. And this is another one of those movies where they just kind of flush out all the color.
yeah, very drab. So yeah, like I said, a lot of great ingredients, and sometimes it's like a okay dinner, but not the great dinner it could have been.
Completely agree.
It had potential. It's just, I guess my major problem is some of the character development could have been better. I think, particularly, and I like Raymond Cruz, but I mean, his character was very cut and dry.
I thought he was one of my favorite parts. He's so funny. Raphael character, especially there at the end and stuff.
Well, it's just yes, no,
Oh,
I did this.
I found him super funny.
Honestly, I enjoyed him too. He was probably my favorite part.
I don't know. I felt like it fell.
It was dry and
flat
wet,
for me. Yeah, it's I don't know. But I agree. I mean, I left this movie feeling I wanted more. I don't know. It's just like you guys said. It was okay. It kind of felt like what we thought about The Forest. It was very jump scary, and it's just. I mean, it's adequate. There's nothing wrong with this movie, but it's just
for a younger audience. Then
yeah, probably more of a high schoolers going to make out at the theater. And,
it did very well.
Or this would do well at like a slumber party with a bunch of girls. Like
well put, well said.
Scream at the ghost, the jump scares. It's made for that audience. It's not made for us, I don't think. And there is a version of not this movie, but this tale on Shudder, and you can get a free month with AOTKP code. But there's a version of this story on there, and I believe it's actually in Spanish, and I think it was nominated for a Golden Globe and on the shortlist for Oscars for best foreign language film. So. Apparently that's the one we should have unwrapped, but
yeah, I'm with you guys totally. I'm not a big ghost guy. I was so happy to see Linda Cardellini in a lead role.
Yes.
So happy for her. I also like James Wan's presence was in that trailer where he's like, let's use my score guy. Right? Could you tell that? I mean, that music in there was really good. But I'm with you. I'm not a ghost guy, but like, I really like the movie. I think that I think what it is for me. Yes, it's the jump scare stuff that's like, come on, is like a little lame, but every part of this movie that was 100% practical, I fucking loved it. I thought it was great. But the second you kind of like morph that lady's face, the second that you use CGI to make a jump scare, like I just every time they do this ghost stuff and they use CGI with it, I have a hard not I don't mean to be like a practical truther and a hater of CGI. But in these horror movies that do a lot of jump scary stuff, I loved when it was all practical. I felt there, and I felt scared and wrapped up in the story, and just the second they get a little CGI in there, it's just harder for me to, I don't know, it takes me out a little bit.
I thought the flashback to the original story was really cool, and once again using practical effects of her covering her face, and there was nothing not ghosty because she wasn't a ghost at that point, and she's drowning the kids, and I'm like, Jesus, I want to see more of this, and then I'm thinking like Erica's gonna love this one because she's drowning the kids.
Yep.
But then, it's a little too modern for her, so probably not. But every time a kid dies on screen, I think of her. So
that's true. She's got her niche.
Yeah.
Kill the children.
I mean, I like Linda Cardellini, and I think she's a good actress, and she's got a screen presence I enjoy. Oh, but man, there's that scene
where they play the Scooby-Doo.
Oh, that was awesome.
With her in it, you liked that?
I
groaned a little,
but no, it was it's that scene that of course they have to have where she's in her office room or whatever and looking at the picture of her dead husband and and caresses the picture and starts to cry and does the thing with the necklace and puts the necklace in a little box, and I'm just like, oh God. Of course this movie has this scene in it. And I rolled my eyes. I obviously not the effect that they were going for. And I think she's a good actress. I don't blame the performance. I blame the writing. But that scene to me encapsulated everything that I just felt like this movie it had like, okay, we have to have this in this ghost movie. We have to have this in this ghost movie. So we got to have the emotional scene of the dead loved one and whatnot. So, yeah.
I thought the kids did a great job.
Yeah, the kids were good.
Both sets of kids, the opening scene kids and not the opening, but the first mom's kids. And the first mom was great too. When she came back, she was scary and she was great.
That's what I'm saying. I think that was one of the strongest points of the movie is when that woman comes back into the movie in the third act. And as much as I was like, okay, I'm predicting everything that's going to happen up to this point because it's so, cookie cutter, but that moment caught me off guard. So I was like, yeah, I gave the movie definitely kudos for that because I did not see that part coming.
I also felt like there were 47 Llorona movies that came out just besides that. What's that? So. What's that one company that does a ripoff of everything? Asylum. I felt like there were 2 or 3 of those too. And I'm like, when Mike picked this, I'm like, oh no, which one is it? I'm never going to find the right one. And is this, but when they first started coming out, I thought I'd heard that it was good. And then the end of the year reviews came in and like it didn't do so good. And I'm like, well, which one was good? Which one? How many is there? I don't know.
That's why I included the picture of the cover.
Yes, that's what had helped. Yeah.
And I sort of wonder, like, I could easily probably do a quick Google search, but did we just like, is this just James Wan, like, cashing in on the Conjuring thing with this and the Nun, all this stuff? Like, we're just going out and grabbing all these old mythological stories, like these crazy old, lores, I guess you could say, and now they're under this umbrella, and he knows it's like printing cash, so good for him. And if this makes another Conjuring movie happen, that's good for him. And like I said, it's not necessarily for us, and I'm okay with that. I accept that this movie is not for me, but it has an audience, and it's not like it's not so bad it offends me like Silent Madness. So
offended. Yeah, this movie did really, 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 really well. Budget was $9 million. Worldwide cumulative 123.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. Good for them.
Holy balls.
Wow. Good for them to make this movie on only a $9 million budget.
Yeah.
For being a
pretty slick for that.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just a bummer because I so wanted to just dive into the Wanaverse. I loved how all of it was connected universe. I love that shit. But yeah, I don't know if it's just like I just can't connect with the ghost story stuff, or they just all started to seem like the same thing over and over again. But I've lost all interest in it, kind of. I mean, I'm still curious to see if like they're going to connect, because all these offshoot films, like the Annabelle films and the Nun and all that still connects to the Conjuring movies, which is great. So I would love to still see how this is going to still connect into that storyline. I hope it does. I hope it just wasn't
tuned.
like, yeah. So that's it, guys. That's it, gang. That is those are our movies that we have unwrapped. I don't know about you guys, but that's one more down out of about 500 more to go.
Yeah,
out of my collection. So, but don't worry, listeners. There is still more Attack of the Killer podcast to go. We're going to take a quick break so you can hear about our podcast network, the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. Now, with over 20 shows on the network and even more to come. So check them all out at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back, and when we do, it'll be segments time here on Attack of the Killer Podcast. Talk to you in a sec.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back. We missed you. Did you miss us? How come you never call? Now it's time for segments portion of the show, and I'm going to turn it over to Jason with shout-outs.
It's time for shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, it's time to hear from you, listeners. What movies are still on your shelf wrapped in plastic? Let's get into it. Up
Time
first,
to judge.
That's exactly right. That's what that means. Up first on our Facebook page, we got Don and Nelly. You know, that guy's working through a list. He says, not sure if this truly counts, but I received City of the Living Dead, The Church, and Grave Robbers through Christmas gift card redemptions just today and haven't unwrapped them at this point. Although I've seen each of the films before.
Okay.
So that sort of doesn't count. But unseen and unwatched would be stuff from Wild Eye. I got a screeners I haven't seen yet, including House on Elm Lake, Watch Us Die, WrestleManiac, and Darkest Die, among others, from a batch I got about a month ago. I still have to finish going through. Only a month. I have years of dust on some of these. All right. Speaking of dusty things, Brian Clark's up next. That's all I could do. That's all I had. He says, the blood-spattered Bluride, Web of the Spider, The Intruder, the one with Yvonne DiCarlo, the Paul Nashi Collection, Volume 2, and although they're technically not wrapped anymore because I have started working my way through it, most of the stuff on the recent Mill Creek Hammer Collection. Heck yeah.
Nice.
Nick Leadham's up next. He says, Don't Torture a Duckling and Deep Red. Nick!
Oh, Nick.
Come on.
Couple of Italian greats there.
He says, been buying a lot of Giallo movies, and I'm trying to save the best for last. Ooh, that's a tough thing to do, and those are a couple good ones.
Yeah, I love Don't Torture a Duckling. It's especially, you know, if child abuse is a touchy subject for you, you probably shouldn't watch it. But
and Deep Red's so good with its gore and that music. That score is one of the best Goblin ones. Mm-hmm. He says, I did finally see the third Phantasm movie, but still haven't seen the others. You're fine to stop there. Don't see Ravager. Still haven't seen Horrors of Malformed Men.
Oh, me neither. Nice.
There are more, but I'm not home to look. Oh, House 2.
Cool. House 2 is great.
Mm-hmm. We got the Reebster, Mike Reeb.
Reebster.
He says, my Herschel Gordon Lewis Feast Blu-ray box set. That lucky son of a bee. And the
my God, Mike, get on that. Those movies are awesome.
Yeah, so Mike can borrow it when you're done. And the Fly Collection box set.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yep. We got one more on here from the Brett and Tony guys from Abe, but I'm going to save that one for last. We're going to jump over to the group edition. Got a couple on there. We got Tim Lennerer. He says VHS.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Which is going to get unwrapped in time for a future Huber Sween. And then we got... What?
I was saying, Andy has some VHS to unwrap too.
Oh,
yeah, I bet he does.
Yeah, definitely.
I just recently rewatched VHS. When I say recent, it was probably about 4 or 5 months ago. But Yeah, I forgot how much I love those movies. Those are good.
Yeah.
Then we got Attacker Peter Parker. He's up next. He says, way too many unseen discs on my shelf. Although most of them are unwrapped by now. How do you unwrap it and then not watch it? That's weird.
Dude, you know how
I know you're
I
the
am.
same.
I unwrap, if I buy a movie at the store, I'll unwrap it in the car.
Yeah. He says, I recently got a Hammer box set that includes The Horror of Frankenstein, Scars of Dracula, Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, Demons of the Mind, Straight On Till Morning, Fear in the Night, and Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde.
Ooh, Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. That's a good one.
Yeah. All right, Roman, get on that. Over on Twitter, we got a large moving torb at Z_VILDROHAR, however the hell you pronounce that. He says, Mexico Barbaro is still unwrapped. Yeah. Whatever that is. And then over on Instagram, we got customers also watched. Erica had to get hers in there. She says, Polanski's The Tenant. Oh, man. The movie's so good. I just watched it not too long ago. So dang good.
There's a movie from that era that Jason has seen and she hasn't. What?
Weird. Haha, I called you out. All right, so back to this big one. So Abe says, I found this unwatched gem on my shelves, Grindhouse Experience, a 20-film feature collection containing titles such as Violent Professionals, Demon Witch Child, and High School Hitchhikers. How could I not blind buy it? In the spirit of Unwrapped and solidarity, Brett, Tony, Ashlyn, and Abe have agreed to watch any title of our collective choosing. All 20 titles are unseen and fair game. Insane Mike, do your worst. So yeah, there's some titles on here. The one that jumps out to me first is The Children, and if that's the one, it's one of my nightmare films from childhood that I could never watch again, and it scares the holy hell out of me.
So if it is the same Children, it'd be from 78, maybe
81. I don't know. It's in there.
Somewhere late 70s, early 80s, about these children that when they hug you, they make you explode. So movie description right there alone should make you want to watch it. But what else we got on this set?
Well, they're all right there, Mike. Should have pulled it up. I tried to tell you before the episode. We got Women's Camp 119, Tortured Angels, Savage Man / Savage Beast, Raw Force. I feel like that one's...
Is that the Raw Force? Oh,
I don't know.
Yes, the Raw Force.
Confessions of a Police Captain, Executioner 2, Poseidon Explosion, Earthquake 7.9, Violent Professionals, Frank and Tony. See, that's the one everyone thought the Brett and Tony podcast should watch. Frank and Tony, but is that fair to Brett? I don't know. Kung Fu Punch of Death, Return of the Tiger, Go Kill and Come Back. I just like that title. I don't know anything about it. Bounty Man, Three Tough Guys, Mandinga, The Children, Demon Witch Child, High School Hitchhikers, Carry On Emmanuel.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
Seen any of those, fellas?
I have no idea. I haven't seen any, so I take your. I trust in your judgment. They asked for your judgment there, the same Mike, and I think
do your thing, dude.
You gotta do your worst, yeah.
Okay, I am definitely going to hands down, even though the children would be cool.
Yeah.
No. The
Raw Force.
Yeah, Raw Force is definitely my pick. But there's that Nazi exploitation film on there too that I think I've seen. I think that might be a movie I was going to talk about a little later. But Raw Force is definitely beats them all. That's got to be the best movie out of that whole. If it's the same one that I'm thinking of, which is from 80. I'm trying to pull it up, but my phone's not cooperating. From 1982, and it's got Cameron Mitchell in it, so sold right there. But it's a bizarre, batshit crazy, like action horror film. A group of martial artist students en route to an island supposedly is the ghost of martial artists who have lost their honor. A hold on.
Oh no.
A Hitler lookalike and his gang are running a female slavery operation on the island as well. Soon the two groups meet and all sorts of crazy things happen. That's the IMDb description. But yeah, the movie,
Wow.
the minute they get on the boat to the time the credits roll, when all the action takes place on the island, it is go time. There's some crazy kung fu action that goes on the boat. You get some really amazing scenes with like these zombies and Nazis and whatnot on the island. It's just insane. I can't even describe how nutty this movie is, but I freaking love it. That's hands down the pick.
This looks incredible. Wow. You guys, good luck. And I can't wait to hear that episode.
Oh, I can't wait either.
All right. So, and everyone else, you can always give us a call on our voicemail and we'll play your voicemail on the show. Let us know what your unwrapped film is or any other comments you may have. You can give us a call at 415-952-6857 or 415-95-AOTKP, and that's shout-outs.
All right, thank you, Jason.
Welcome,
And
Mike.
now, if you would like to hear some real master thespians at their craft, you'll have to go somewhere else because it's time for Recasting with Christian Slater.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the perpetual acid trip that is my life, called Recasting with Christian Slater. So, let's just tear this Band-Aid off as quick as we fucking can now, shall we? Tonight we're gonna revisit another Rob Zombie film, and apparently it's one of Jason Bollinger's favorites. It's, House of a Thousand Corpses. So let's get going. In the studio today, playing the role of Captain Spaulding, we have series favorite Don Knotts.
Preston, my family misses me.
Sure they do. New to the show, playing the role of Stucky, taking time off of his quest for worldwide domination, it really needs no introduction because he's been ruling this army of men trying to take over the world. It's Cobra Commander.
Thank you very much, Christian. I will show Destro and that four-eyed bimbo with the nice rack what a great thespian I am.
The Baroness?
Yeah, her too.
Playing the role of Rich, against my better judgment, they've cast him again, is Gary Busey. Now, against my better judgment as well, I gotta ask Gary, why is there a cast on your foot?
I am so glad you asked, Christian. See, I was hoping to get in a better connection with my fans, so I went and decided to have my own sex toy made.
What?
Yes, exactly. What I do is they take little Gary and they put into...
You don't need to give me a fucking crash course in the manufacturing of sex toys. How'd you break your goddamn foot?
I'm getting there. Now, you see, I realize that many of the materials are quite expensive, the synthetics, the rubbers, and whatnot. So I tried all sorts of things. Wax was a disaster. So my next logical step was concrete.
the next logical step was concrete.
Precisely. Now, I got it all made out and all ready to go, and I accidentally dropped it on my foot. Damn thing broke. My foot and the dildo.
Are you saying to me that you broke your foot with a concrete dildo?
Precisely.
I don't know what's more shocking, the fact that somebody broke their foot with a concrete dildo, or the fact that I'm not shocked that you broke your foot with a concrete dildo.
I know it's a real chicken or the egg situation.
No, goddammit, it's not. It's nothing like that.
Concrete dildos. I wonder if Cobra could weaponize such a thing.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Moving on to our last character, playing the role of Carl. You may remember him from Saturday morning cartoons. He had a sidekick named Rocky. I can't believe he's actually here. Bullwinkle the Moose.
Thank you, and it is a pleasure to be here amongst all you good people. I am very, very excited. This is my first role.
Hey, Moosey. I think the makeup lady went a little heavy on the powder.
I'm glad you noticed. You see, my heart is racing, and I haven't blinked for the past 15 minutes. I'm a little concerned about that. Hey, Moosey, come here. Let me get a little bit off that antler right there. You have got the most beautiful nostrils I have ever seen. I am very envious. They are so large. Tell me something. What is it like working at Wally World? What the fuck are you talking about?
Jesus fucking Christ. Let's just go. I gotta get this over with. I got shit to do. All right, here we go. Is everybody ready?
More than ready. Let's do this.
All right. Interior, Captain Spaulding's night. Inside is a poor man's Ripley's Believe It or Not. Bizarre props and treasures of killers and monsters cover the dirty walls. Wax figures of Jack the Ripper stand guard before oil paintings of John Wayne Gacy. Perched on the stool behind the counter sits Captain Spaulding, a crusty-looking old man in a filthy clown suit and smeared makeup. The word love is tattooed across his right knuckles, and hate is tattooed across his left. He's reading the newspaper, crunching on crackers from a paper bag and half-heartedly listening to a small, nerdy man wearing Coke bottle glasses named Stucky. Stucky thumbs through a stack of autographed 8x10 photographs.
I got this back stack today. Some nice shots. See a good topless June Wilkinson. Unfortunately, she personalized it. To Stucky, love June. Shit, this isn't worth nothing now. They've gotten my name all over it. I was fixing on trading it to Jackie Cobb.
That retard over at Molly's fruit stand?
Yeah, he's hot off her. He's all hot off her. After he found some of his dad's old nudie books hidden in the basement. He keeps them taped inside his school workbook.
Spaulding brushes cracker crumbs off his paper and continues reading.
Fascinating.
That kid is one horny retard.
Christ, they all are. All them retards want to do is eat and fuck.
Well, yeah, I think that if you knew him, I mean, if you understand his urges, shit, the guy's like 40 or something.
Worse than a fucking rabid baboon.
Yeah, I guess, you know, to the whacking his weasel, his other favorite thing is twisting sharpened pencils in the corner of his eyes.
What?
Yeah, he doesn't hurt himself, he just spins it around next to his eyeball.
I'm sure that's not the only place he's sticking those pencils.
Nah, he don't do anything else with them, but he gets caught. But he did get caught once with the Planet of the Apes doll hanging out of his asshole.
God damn!
Had to take him to the hospital. Kid had Dr. Zayas stuck halfway up his butt. Couldn't get him out.
I always loved that mute broad that Charlton Heston was shacking up with.
Nova? Yeah, she looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, now there's the perfect woman.
Can I get some stamps off ya? Did you fix the toilet yet?
Spaulding opens a drawer and tears off 5 stamps.
Yes, I did. Now don't go stuffing no any goddamn paper towels down that hole. I just sneaked the shit out of that thing.
Spaulding slides the key attached to a cow skull across the counter. Stucky grabs it. Spaulding hangs on.
You hear me? You bust that crap or I'll beat your ass.
I hear you.
He lets go of the key. Exterior, Captain Spaulding's night. From a stranger's point of view, we watch through the window. Stucky exits for the restroom. All clear, let's go shopping.
Right.
From this point of view, we race across the highway towards the front door of the museums. Slam! We bust through the door. Interior, Spaulding's. The moment of impact. Boom! The door smashes open. Spaulding's head jerks up to see a masked gunman, Carl, wearing a leather S&M mask. Behind him stands a second gunman, Rich, wearing a rubber caveman mask.
Mary fucking Moses, get the fuck out of here!
Hold it, Clowny. Keep your paws where I can see them.
Yeah, don't move or I'll blast a hole the size of a Kansas City watermelon through your ugly bozo-ass face.
Spaulding obeys and raises his hands.
What the fuck does that mean?
Well, you see, the average size...
God damn it, Gary. Stop ad-libbing.
Righto. Carl, you're Moose Boy, you're up.
Go grab that other asshole out of the shitter and drag his ass back in here.
Right.
My childhood.
Rich exits.
Miserable little cunts with guns, I had to jump over this counter and bash your fucking balls in.
Killer Carl steps up and puts his gun against Spaulding's case. All right, Tippy, hand over the cash box, and I might leave your brains inside your skull. Spaulding smiles wide. His teeth are yellow and rotted. Spaulding foot kicks a red switch, triggering a silent alarm.
That's what you bitches need. A reality check courtesy of my boot in your ass. That'll be a cash box you can cry to your mama about.
Interior, Spaulding's back room. A red light flashes in the dim glow. We see Ravelli, a large hunch figure sitting on the edge of the bed. The figure is heavily bandaged. Ravelli reacts to the flashing light. He rises and puts a huge mask over his head. He exits the room. Interior, bathroom stall, night. Stucky sits on the toilet, pasting stamps on large yellow envelopes. Killer Rich kicks open the stall, grabs Stucky by the necks, and pulls him out.
Come on, fat boy.
Exterior, Spaulding's night. We move around the outside of the building, watching the scene inside unfold. Heavy breathing is heard. Rich drags Stucky into the main room. Interior, Spaulding's night. Carl grows increasingly hostile, knocks a candy display over, raises his gun over his head, and fires into the ceiling. That's it! I'm going to count to 10, and you're gonna hand over the cash, or I'm going to splatter your grease paint mug all over the state line. 1.
Fuck your mother.
2.
Fuck your sister.
Come on, man, just shoot him.
Hey, I know you. You were in high school together. Woodshop, right? Richard Rick.
He looks nervously at Stucky.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Quiet down. 3.
Fuck your grandmother.
Yeah, I remember Mr. Alcott, the shopkeeper, used to call you Little Dickwick. Hey, wasn't there a song made up to go with that?
Shut up.
Little Dickwick, play with this brick. Don't the smell just make you sick?
Exterior Spalding's night. From Ravelli's point of view, we watch through the window as everybody inside starts shouting at each other. Suddenly, Rich shoots Stucky. Rich falls backwards against the wall, screaming in pain. We move quickly towards the entrance. Interior, Spalding's night. Suddenly, crash. Ravelli smashes through the front door, knocking Carl to the ground. In the light, we see that Ravelli is wearing an oversized clown head, and his hand is a sledgehammer. Rich turns towards the commotion. The captain quickly whips out a gun and fires. Rich falls dead. Ravelli lunges at Carl, smashing him over the head with her hammer. Ravelli's clown head comes loose and falls to the floor. Now that we see Ravelli is a bald pit bull of a man with badly scarred skin that is painted white and red. Carl hits the floor and begins convulsing violently. Spalding steps down from the counter, puts his foot on Carl's throat, and points his pistol at Carl's head.
And most of all, fuck you!
Boom! Spalding shoots Carl in the head. The screen explodes red and turns black.
God damn it, the motherfucker got blood over my best clown suit!
Thankfully, that's the end of this episode.
Hey, Cobra Man, can I borrow your mirror?
That's my faceplate, you horse-tooth halfwit! Get the hell away from me! Why do you have a credit card?
God, yeah. This is Charlie Sheen for Attack of the Killer Podcast. Wait a minute. No. What planet am I on? I think some of that coke got off the moose's head.
Time once again for another Insane Picks Hall of Fame. He is known as the master of Italian rip-off movies. He's been called the Italian Ed Wood, constantly using stock footage, soundtrack borrowing, bad acting, and silly dialogue within his productions, ripping off such classics as Terminator, Alien, Jaws, The Thing, Dawn of the Dead, and even Zombie, a movie that itself is cashing in on Dawn of the Dead. Yes, this episode's inductee to the Insane Picks Hall of Fame, Bruno Mattei. Born in 1931, Bruno Mattei grew up in Rome, Italy, where his father owned a small film editing studio. At the age of 20, Bruno started working odd jobs for his father's company. He wanted to follow in his father's footsteps as a film editor. According to Mattei, he had edited over 100 films between the 1960s and the early 70s. After working with famed Spanish director Jess Franco, Mattei moved on up to the director's chair with the film, here we go, I'm going to try this, Il Dramma di una Spazza from 1970. Under the alias Jordan B. Matthews. Now, Bruno would use dozens of pseudonyms throughout his career. In 1977, he made not one, but two low-budget Nazi exploitation movies, Women's Camp 119 and Private House of the SS, aka SS Girls. Mattei continued to make films in all sorts of genres, from porno films, women in prison films, nunsploitation films, even Mondo shockumentaries, all directed under many pseudonyms, with such films as Mondo Erotico from 1973, The True Story of the Nun Monza in 1980, and The Other Hell in 1981. Now, those last two films I mentioned first involved a partnership with writer-director Claudio Frasgio, yes, that Claudio, Troll 2 fame, who helped him write and direct the back-to-back productions. This is a partnership that would continue throughout both of their careers. Other aliases Bruno would use was, probably his most famous alias was Vincent Don, which he used for the first time when he directed Hell of the Living Dead in 1980, also known as Night of the Zombies, also known as Virus. The film which is the most I think probably his most well-known film, is also his biggest rip-off film yet. See, Hell of the Living Dead is a low-budget zombie picture that some say rip off, some say rip-off, some say inspired from other zombie movies such as Dawn of the Dead and Lucio Fulci's Zombie. Bruno leaves no stone unturned in this movie when it comes to borrowing for his art. It was filmed in Spain and used stock jungle footage from the 1974 film, here we go, Nueva Guinea, Eliosio de Cannibala. Oh my God! Claudio wanted Goblin to score the film, but they were asking for way too much money. So Claudio and Bruno decided to reuse Goblin's score from Dawn of the Dead instead. Even the movie's poster art has a zombie on it that is very similar to the zombie head on the poster for City of the Living Dead, also from 1980. And then Bruno would later reuse this design one last time in his final film, Zombies: The Beginning, in the year 2007. Some of my other favorite Bruno Mattei films include Rat's Night of Terror from 1984, Robo Wars in 1988, which is a combination ripoff of Predator, RoboCop, and Rambo. Then there was also Shocking Dark from 1989. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Terminator 2. And my newest favorite movie of his, the ultra bizarre Night Killer from 1990, which is a wonderful Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff by a man who obviously had never seen Nightmare on Elm Street. In the year 2007, his health began to decline rapidly after he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. He had an operation to have the tumor removed, but after the operation, Bruno fell into a coma and died a few days later on May 21st, 2007, at the age of 75. There are those out there, like Jason, who consider his films to be cheap and technologically inept due to, in large part, of their low budgets and poor production values. I consider Bruno Mattei to be one of an influential cult film director for many fans from all over the world. His willingness to break taboos is one of the qualities that makes Bruno stand out as a schlock filmmaker. What he lacks in budget and quality is more than made up for in its pure insanity to the eyes. That is why Bruno Mattei is our most recent inductee into Insane's Picks Hall of Fame. And then that is it, folks. That is it for another episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. Special thanks to all you attackers out there. Your support helps keep the show going. And thanks to all the listeners out there. Remember, keep physical media alive, keep growing your collection, even if you don't open them until you have an excuse to watch it, like, recording a podcast. Talk to you all on the next episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. See ya.
Oh no, could this be the end of?